Welcome to this time together, this time of worship at Fairlawn. I'm Cameron Watts. I'm one of the ministers here. I identify as he, him. And thank you for waiting for the beginning of the service today, because our theme today is patience. Waiting. We don't always do it well, even when we're forced to. We wait for test results, for emails, for texts, for phone calls, for acceptance and employment letters, for tomorrow, for rescue, for help, for a loved one, for change, for leaders to lead, for justice, for prayers to be answered. We wait. Waiting is common to our human experience. And the scriptures say that they who wait on the Holy One will have their strength renewed. So today we wait together in the presence of the Creator to have our strength renewed. Our strength as a people of faith. Our strength in our sexual identity and expression. Our strength in our wealth and generosity and poverty and simplicity. Our strength in our racial heritage. Our strength in our health and in our illness. However we come today, wherever we are in our faith journey, find welcome here. We acknowledge that many members of our community, the descendants of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga of the New Credit, require us to be strong advocates for truth and reconciliation. Our homes, church, businesses, all stand on the lands their ancestors once occupied and for which they cared. Those who remain in our midst wait, with and without patience, for we, their neighbors, to recognize their identity and giftedness, and for us to acknowledge them and their dignity.
Jesus said a man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to their father, "Give me the share of the estate that is coming to me." So the father divided up the property between them. Some days later, the younger son gathered up his belongings and left for a distant land. Here, he squandered all his money on loose living. After everything was spent, a great famine broke out in the land, and the son was in great need. So he went to a landowner who sent him to a farm to take care of the pigs. Now the son was so hungry that he could have eaten the husks that were fodder for the pigs. But no one made a move to give him anything. Coming to his senses at last, he said, "How many hired hands at my father's house have more than enough to eat, while here I am starving? I'll quit and go back home and say, 'I've sinned against God and against you. I no longer deserve to be called one of your children. Treat me like one of your hired hands.'" And with that, the younger son set off for home. While still a long way off, the father caught sight of the returning child and was deeply, deeply moved. The father ran out to meet him, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, "I've sinned against God and against you. I no longer deserve to be called one of your children." But the father said to one of the workers, "Quick, bring out the finest robe and put one on him. Put a ring on his finger and shoes on his feet. Take the calf that we've been fattening and butcher it. Let's eat and celebrate. This son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and now he's found. And the celebration began. Meanwhile, the elder son had been out in the field. As he neared the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing, and he called out to one of the workers and asked what was happening. The worker answered, "Your brother is home, and the fatted lamb has been killed, because your father has him back safe and sound." Now the son got angry at this and refused to go to the party, but his father came out and pleaded with him. The older son replied, "Look, for years now I have done every single thing you asked me to do. I never disobeyed even one of your orders. Yet you never gave me so much as a kid goat to celebrate with my friends. But then this son of yours comes home after going through your money with prostitutes, and you killed the fatted calf for him." "But my child," the father said, "you're with me always, and everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate and rejoice. This brother of yours was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, and now he's found."
Patiently for him, and he shall give thee thy heart's desires. Oh, rest in the Lord, wait patiently for him, and he shall trust in him, and fret not thyself because of evildoers. Oh, rest in the Lord, wait patiently for him, wait patiently for him. Oh, rest in the Lord, wait patiently for him, and he shall give thee thy heart's desires, and he shall give thee thy heart's desires, and he shall give thee thy heart's desires. Oh, rest in the Lord, oh, rest in the Lord,
many months ago, when we didn't have to listen to that pre-recorded message, we are experiencing a higher than normal volume of calls. Please be patient and we will get to you as soon as possible. We didn't have to listen to it because those of us who were Rogers customers weren't able to get through because Rogers was down. So no please wait messages. It was so nice. There was no point in being impatient. There was nothing anyone could do. Well, there was no point in being impatient unless you were a bike share customer and you were trying to get a bike out of the rack, or you needed to get out of the parking lot and the gates wouldn't open, or you needed to refill your Presto card, or you needed access to the healthcare chart for one of your patients in a long-term care home, or you needed to call the home and tell them that you couldn't come in and work your shift because you just tested positive, or you wanted to finish your screening so you could visit a relative in a long-term care home, or you called 911 only to hear, all our lines are busy. Please call again. Patience is difficult. It is not, as one I will call the Moeg said, a virtue. Patience is not a virtue. Patience is a discipline. And we are not very disciplined. Amazon did a study that indicated if their page opened 1 second more slowly when you clicked on it, they would lose $1.6 billion US in annual revenue. 1 second. Patience is a discipline, and it is one that we need for our 4,000 weeks on this planet, even if that feels counterintuitive. We feel like our weeks are going to get away from us, so we invent ways to help us with our impatience. And we want to believe that every new technological advance will help us get things done more quickly and help us to be more in control of our time. And we soon discover that for the most part, apps and time savers just add more things to do with our time. It is infuriating. It's infuriating for speed addicts. I'm sure you've seen one. Someone who's chronically late. Someone who is relying on Google Maps to get them somewhere, and they see on the map that the road ahead is clear, and they race you to the red light. I have never done that. Speed addicts, sometimes the rest of us, learn to surrender to the reality that things just take the time that they take. And if you can do that, Berkman says, if you can acknowledge things take the time they take, you have accomplished what is called a second-order change. Second-order change internally. You begin to enjoy knowing you can't outrun your anxiety. You can't outrun your worry about getting everything done by a deadline, so you stop worrying. There is going to be another red light up ahead. And that guy who keeps blitzing by me after another few kilometers, guess what? He's right beside me. You enjoy your work more instead of fighting it. You develop this superpower called patience. In 4,000 Weeks, Berkman offers 3 pointers on how to develop that superpower, but first, let's do a little more acknowledgement of how difficult it is to be patient. Jesus told the story of a parent with incredible patience. The tale of the prodigal son is the longest parable in the New Testament. It's detailed. And it's detailed because everyone who heard it, and then the editors, all got it. You can't leave anything out in this story. They all knew, or knew someone who knew, what it was like to wait for a child to come back. Broken relationships don't mend easily, and our anxiety for someone's well-being never goes away. If we're talking about family, this requires a new level of patience. And that's an anxiety I wish I knew how to cure. God wrote one translator who's trying to encapsulate it in a couple of lines. God is like the dad who gave his youngest son half of his estate, knowing the son would burn through it in less than a year, and then welcome the kid back with more riches instead of practicing tough love. The dad is a fool. A patient fool. The dad waited a long time for his son. And if you've ever been in that position, you know that that dad was rehashing every conversation he ever had with that kid, every decision he made. It's a family story. In part, it is an allegory about the patience of God with humanity. And God knows God needs to be patient with us. But it's also a story about grace, about extending it, and about receiving it. As Ralph Wilton wrote, God's grace is there for the taking. It requires nothing but an open mind and an open heart. Take the gift, be grateful, stop trying to analyze everything. Quit analyzing the dad or the son or the brother. See the grace of welcome, the grace of the uncertain reward of patience. The grace of the uncertain reward of patience. Now, if you need that kind of patience for any reason, take a deep breath. You cannot make a prodigal change. All you can do is change yourself and be ready if they show up. Even knowing that it's going to cost you emotionally to wait every day for that to happen. If they don't show up, God's grace is there for the taking. It requires nothing but an open mind and an open heart that's waiting to be healed. The dictionary defines a prodigal as someone who is recklessly wasteful. And it doesn't have to be a child. Anyone in your life you have any attachment for can bring you anxiety with their life choices. And if you love anyone, they are going to bring you anxiety with their life choices. But some people recklessly waste the lives God has given them. In some sort of rebellion, they live for themselves in their limited worldview. They waste the potential they were created with. And guess who bears the burden for those prodigals? The people who love them. We can't write them off. We're helpless to know what to do about them. If you have a prodigal in your life, you've already developed the superpower called patience. Get ready to go. On the good days, give thanks to God. In your bad days, give thanks to God. Don't think too highly of your achievements, nor put yourself down as useless. You are a child of God, sufficiently beautiful and sufficiently flawed to warrant the costly grace of the sacrificial love of Christ. Go your way with a resilient and cheerful spirit. God sends us forth to be reconcilers of the broken and oppressed. Jesus, our brother, sends us to welcome everyone. We will embrace the prodigals with joy. We will make a feast for all of God's people. The Spirit sends us with arms full of healing. We will go to bring hope to all we meet. Amen.